Good morning, my loves. Happy Good Friday. So we're going to have a little chat before we get into our movement. Make sure, if you don't have one already, head off to wherever you got to go to grab yourself a cup of something. I'm sipping my hot water with lemon this morning. Your coffee, room temperature water, anything is fine. Just some sort of like liquid that we can have with us while we chat a bit. Take a sip. I've been up since 4 this morning. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's part of the cleanse that I'm doing. Maybe it's just I'm feeling re-energized. But I did always, I'm hitting the Google to be like, why do I keep waking up at 4 a.m.? And one of the things that came up, and I know this, and I'm like, why do I have to turn to Google to be reminded? But, there's a lot of stuff going up here. It's nice that it's out in the internets that I can turn to for a reminder. But it said that some people call it the witching hour, but it's a very spiritual time from 3 to 5 a.m. In fact, when I was studying Kundalini yoga, one of the things that it was strongly encouraged. I wasn't there yet at that point in my life, but it was to get up at 3 a.m. to do your meditation practice from 3 to 5. And anyways, and I'm not waking up like tired, not like I gotta pee, because some of the things that were coming up was like, if your cortisol levels are too high, you're gonna wake up at that time. But I'm not, I just kind of like open my eyes and my body's like, let's get this day going. Anyways, long story. I'm reflecting on Wholeness Week this week. Today is Good Friday. Sunday is Easter Sunday. And as you know, I'm a student of A Course in Miracles. I was introduced to A Course in Miracles probably like 10 years ago now. It began by watching a Oprah talk by Marianne Williamson. Then I read her book, A Return to Love. Reading this book was like, I felt like I was dehydrated and I was guzzling holy water. And it just gave me life. And so I decided to study A Course in Miracles. You may have heard me talk about it before. Just in case you haven't, a recap. A Course in Miracles is they call it kind of like spiritual psychotherapy. It's a mind training system that helps you dismantle the thought system of fear and remember the truth of who we are, which is love. And love has always been a thing for me, but it was once I did the course and I read this book and, I continued studying it, that's when I really started to understand what love is and see it as the creative force of the universe, not just reserved for your romantic partner. I remember all my friends are like searching for love, searching for the one. And I was never that guy. I was always like, it's there. Love is available to us in everything. I can love my family and I can love my partner and I can love my friends and I can love the people I work with and I can love strangers. I remember one time I was out shopping. This was like in the early days of me saying I love you to random people. And I was out shopping and the shop person was helping me and we were there like 15 minutes answering my questions, etc. And I was there with a friend and then I was like, hey, love you, bye. And as we're walking out, my friend's like, you just said I love you to a complete stranger? Like, you don't even know her. I'm like, well, we just literally spent 15 minutes together. We're like besties now. Anyways, I'm reflecting on Good Friday and Easter Sunday. And I was reminded of this post that I posted on Facebook in the very early days of my study of A Course in Miracles. And so I dug down into like the bowels of my Facebook page and I found it. It was Easter of 2016. And so I used that as a little bit of a reflection this morning before we got on here. And so I just want to talk a little bit about it. So as I said, A Course in Miracles is kind of designed to help us dismantle the fear-based thought system that many of us just inherently have because that's the dominating thought system of the world. Out in the world around us, as much as we are doing the work, we here and the light workers are doing the work to bring love to this planet. That's not the messaging that we receive when we turn on the news. It's not the messages that we receive when we look at our phone. It's not the go-to messaging of the world. It's just not. And as much as I'd like that to change, and that's why I do the work that I do so that that can change, it's just something to acknowledge. So the dominating thought system of the world is fear or lovelessness. And A Course in Miracles helps us dismantle that thought system so that we can remember the truth of who we are. And one of the big things of A Course in Miracles is talks about the separation where we have been separated from love, from all that is. And that's why we are in a body. And so A Course in Miracles talks about body identification versus spirit identification. When we identify with our body, we're identifying that I am here, you are there, this is mine, that's yours, everything is finite. Right? When we identify with the body, we're identifying with fear and we identify with death. Now, hear me out when I say death. I understand that death is a thing. That's the cycle of creation: birth, life, death, rebirth. But when we identify with the body, we identify with something that is limited. And no matter what, A Course in Miracles says, as long as we identify with something that is limited, identifying with the body means we're always going to be identified with the separation, that which separates us from all that is. Spirit identification, on the other hand, is when we identify not with the limitations of this meat suit that we wear, but when we identify with the infinite expansiveness that is love, spirit, source, God, universe, whatever it is that you use, that whatever word that you use to identify the divine intelligence of your understanding. So, body identification, we identify with fear. We're always going to be in an anxious kind of way. When we look at the physiology of it, when we are in that fear state, we're always in an anxious state. When we identify with spirit, we identify with the unlimitedness of who we are, and we can do more with the life that we have here on earth. So I talk about this here because when we look at Good Friday and Easter Sunday, we look at body identification versus spirit identification. Good Friday symbolizes the moments in our life where we identify with our pain, with our body, with our limitations, with the struggles that we've gone through. It reminds us of the ego mind. And Good Friday, looking at identifying with the body, it's the part of the journey where we carry the energetic and the emotional weight that is just too much for us to carry. Like our souls, it's like too heavy. So we look at that because it's through the body identification that we are able to transform. A Course in Miracles says, look at the crucifixion. That's what happens on Good Friday. The symbolism is that Jesus was crucified on the cross. He carried this cross. A few people were helping him, but mostly people were like, making fun of him and spitting on him and throwing things at him. He had a few friends help him carry the cross, but it was ultimately his cross to carry. And when we look at the symbolism of that, we ourselves have these burdens in this lifetime that we carry. Now, the crucifixion happens. The Course says, look at it, for it happened, because when you look at the ways that we carry the heaviness, that's where we can start to transform. And then, so what happens is the physical being known as Jesus dies, goes off into, they bring his body into a cave. 3 days later, he spends these 3 days in darkness. 3 days later, they go back to this cave. They open up and he's not there, because that's where the Christ has risen. So what Easter represents is this identification with spirit, remembering that we are not our body that suffers, that we are in fact this spirit that lives in this body. Easter representing that return to one spirit source, whatever it is, remembering that we can transcend our suffering. So Easter Sunday is about rising in spirit, about letting the old version of ourselves die, Jesus in body, dead, then rises up as the Christ. And we look at that Christ, and this was the thing, and if I can just reflect on my blog post for a moment, this is the thing that always got me. It was like, only Jesus can be the Christ and only can rise. But as I started to explore my own spirituality, I started to realize that Christ that I was being told about all my life is really that light, that namaste consciousness, that idea that the light within me reflects and honors the light that is within you. So I too could transcend all the suffering of my life and, embody that light consciousness, that love consciousness that unites us all. Because when we're identifying with the body, we're identifying with the separation. When we identify with spirit, you are no different than me. I am no different than you and all the other people in the world. What is happening out there is happening within here. So if I can heal it within here, it can be healed out there. I always loved the idea of the winter solstice because I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, this is the darkest moment, but the light's going to come. Here is where we're saying the light is here. And in fact, not only is it here, it's been you in this entire time. So remember that. Feel it, embody it, bring it to life, because that's what we're doing here. So all of that to say, thank you for being here with me as I'm verbally processing this. Let's bring our slide onto the screen and look at our journal reflection for today, because then we're going to get into some movement. So our stream of consciousness writing or reflection I offer you today, what old ways of being are you ready to let go of? And what truth is ready to rise within you? So how are you letting go of body identification to transform into spirit identification and remember who you truly are? Bring your pen to paper, just get some thoughts out, and we'll be together shortly to do some blessing on our water. Again, if you don't have something to drink, go grab it, and I'll see you in a few minutes.